Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Kevin Bird. I'm a professor here at the UF Graham Center, and I'm also a coordinator of our local, state, and federal internship program. I love working with students to help them prepare, to evaluate them, to give them feedback about gaining experience in public service. I am a big champion. I think we need a lot of you to engage with your local community, your state level government, your federal government. Whether you go into this field as a job or you go right into corporate work, but you want to stay engaged, you want to civically engage. There's great consequences if we don't. There's great rewards if we do engage. So welcome. I'm really glad to spend this time with you talking about the Washington Internship Program. Maybe even a few of you I've taught American history to in the past few semesters. I'm not sure. I don't see any of you in here yet. So just to go over what we're doing, um, uh, I'm going to introduce you to a few more people on this call, like Miss Shelby Beck in DC, live and in person from DC. We're going to go over the basics of this program so you have a little bit better understanding of what this program entails. It's really great when you're thinking about internships and jobs to really do your research. What is this opportunity involve? What are the job duties? What are the traits they're looking for? How can I shape my application? How can I gain those skills if I don't already have them? It's really good for you to start to pick that information up before submitting an application. I know that means submitting applications, it's more work to shape your resume and so forth, but that kind of background information can be very helpful and make the best use of your time. We're going to talk about, of course, this involves course credit. We're going to talk about the scholarship that's involved, us lining up housing. We're going to talk about some of the expectations if a person does move forward with applying to the summer 2025 application. We're going to hear, this is the point I want to make sure and get to pretty quickly because this is the highlight of each one of our info sessions. You're going to hear from some high-powered former interns, including Miss Beck and she did such a good job. She landed a job, but also Bryn and Emma Putman that are on the call. We're going to talk a little bit, just kind of make sure you understand what some of the placement opportunities are. And we're going to have a time for Q&A. Now, if you would like to drop any questions in the comment, you can. I think Bryn, maybe Miss Beck, Emma will be kind of watching that. But if you want to see how many of them we cover, you can do that as well. Well, again, my name is Kevin Bird. Some of you may know me from my American history classes or just seeing me walk around on campus. Thanks for, not running over me on your bike and so forth. But I'm great to meet you. I'm coming to you from my office in Pugh Hall. We're joined on the call by Miss Shelby Beck, live and in person from DC. Again, one of our hot, stellar WHIP alum who landed a position in DC after. Bryn Dubin, who is my student assistant and helps me with all kinds of stuff. So she is an expert when it comes to one of our top targets for recruiting, her and Emma into a previous class. So if you want to hear from somebody that has a lot of insight in working in DC, excelling as a student, securing job offers, Bryn and Emma are great. And then also, of course, on the call, Emma. Emma, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Well, let me cover some basic information and then turn it over to the stars of our show. How about? This is the Washington Internship Program is a partnership with the UF Bob Graham Center and the UF Federal Relations Office. It's good that you understand that because you won't just be going to DC just kind of doing your own thing. You're not just going to DC for you. Yes, you're going for you to gain experience, to advance your professional development. But you are, in a sense, partnering with us and the UF Office of Federal Relations to represent the University of Florida in DC. So you take us along with you in your office at the networking events that Ms. Beck sets up. Imagine this partnership almost like someone starting off at a law firm, and you're representing the firm, you're representing clients, and you're representing other stakeholders. That's another level of professional acumen and skill set. And that's what you're doing on this. You'd be partnering with us to help represent the University of Florida in these consequential spaces. We offer this internship every summer, spring, and fall. Do please keep that in mind. On the application, there will be a question of whether you have considered or would like to consider the fall. We get the most applications for summer. It is also the shortest term. Some offices in DC are even splitting their internships into half summer, like summer A, summer B. Some offices are even doing that. And we'll get the fewest amount of applications for fall. Now, some people might say, oh, I could never imagine, being in DC in the fall. And oftentimes by sitting down, you and I can figure out a way that might be possible. So just keep that in mind as far as the pool of applicants that we'll have in each term. This is an internship in a congressional office. That's where we're placing. And then also we're placing students in the UF Office of Federal Relations. This internship counts for academic credits through the Graham Center, IDS 4940. We can do 0 to 9 credits of IDS credit, but sometimes students might be in a certain department like political science. You want to do 3 credits through political science or some other department, and then you can do 6 credits through us to meet various needs. One of the great things about this internship is the professional development part. Again, you're not just going to UF out there on your own. We are interviewing you. We're sitting down talking with you about some of the strengths that we really see that you have, how to accentuate those strengths, how if there's ever little points of improvement, well, we're doing all that on the front end. We're putting you in these offices with the best chance to excel from day one. You're also going to engage with the UF Office of Federal Relations while you're there. Engage with people that are new that you get to meet. It's quite amazing. This internship also involves a policy project, what we call Gator Bite Project. It's a 5-minute policy presentation of something that affects the university, the state, and that has some actionable decision or policy about. And so we want you to get used to being able to do those very concise 5-minute presentations, because as a young professional, often if you have the chance to share your idea with an executive, it's going to be for a short amount of time. And you've got to get really good at sharing your vision, sharing what you're talking about very concisely. Well, I just wonder, Shelby, have I missed anything in talking about this? This is a 40-hour-a-week internship. This is for people that are go-getters that want to embrace a demanding work schedule. Again, we can do 0 to 9 credits of scholarship. We have a cost of living scholarship. If you are someone that's in an office with a stipend, we don't do that cost of living scholarship. But if you're in an office that doesn't have a stipend, then we kick out that cost of living scholarship of $2,000. We cover housing regardless, whether you're in a congressional office with a stipend or in a congressional office without a stipend, we cover housing. Shelby, anything else that you think it's good that we state here?
Yeah, quickly, housing is through a company called WISH, Washington Intern Student Housing. You've got it. Okay, I'll let you cover it then, Dr. Bird. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, not at all. Again, we kick out, for students in offices that don't have stipends, we kick out a $2,000 cost of living scholarship. For students in offices that do have a stipend, we don't kick that out. But in both cases, students in stipend offices or non-stipend offices, we cover your housing. That amounts to around $4,500 per student. So for most students, we're all in around, $5,000 to $7,000. Now, housing in DC is not glamorous. This is not Beverly Hills per se. I'll let Emma and Bryn comment on that. You might think that it's a little bit more like a, remote, like a work situation. You're going to be in residence with other people, so maybe possibly 4 other, like a quad, having your own bathroom. And so there might be communication needs and even conflict management skills that you will exhibit and embody and employ in residence. So while it's not glamorous, the housing is close to what you need. Emma, Bryn, would you say anything else about the housing?
Yeah, I'll go. Brent and I were actually roommates. We
Oh,
were
wonderful.
in a room with four people, and so there were two bunk beds in the bedroom. There was plenty of space. I wouldn't say that it was super, super tight, but it is communal living. So the four of us were sharing a bathroom, and a kitchen and kind of shared responsibilities. They do room checks periodically throughout the summer as well. So that kind of holds everybody accountable as well, which is super nice. But yeah, it was like a 5 minute walk to work, especially depending on what building you're in the house. For my building in Cannon, I was super, super close. We backed up directly to the Supreme Court, so everything was super, super central. Grocery store, there was a Trader Joe's about a 10-minute walk away. CVS was really close. I mean, everything in that area is just really, really convenient. So I can't say enough good things about the Wish housing and its convenience for sure.
Bryn, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say in addition to having roommates, what's really cool about at least our situation being in a townhouse is that other WIP cohort students were like in the house with us. So I think it was like 8 UF kids all in the same house, which was really nice, especially just the convenience of wanting to go like do things around DC. There's always someone in your house with you that you can go do things with, which was really nice. So that way, just part of the safety, it's really important. And also because you're living, like Emma said, right next to the Supreme Court, we always had a police car kind of stationed outside of these houses that you see, which is really nice. So safety was never really a big concern. But yeah, what's really important with living with three other people for an entire summer is just communication. We were really lucky. We're like all of our schedules kind of worked out where we were getting up at different times. But if you're all waking up at the same time, those are conversations that are definitely important to have right at the start of summer so that everything can go smoothly.
Yes. You establish basic ground rules like don't eat my Cheerios without asking, or don't drink the last of my milk. And, other things. Don't watch movies loud late at night on your cell phone, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, just great things to learn as a professional and as a person, as a human being.
Dr. Bird, can I jump in here really quick?
Yes.
And one more thing that's really great about Wish Housing, and Bryn touched on this briefly, but is that we put you all together. And the really cool thing about that is you're all coming to DC, not really knowing a ton of people, but doing the same thing and interested in similar things. So it creates a really great community for you all, where you're all living together, you all have UF in common, and you all have this interest in politics and public service in common, and you all have similar schedules. So it's a great kind of bonding experience as well for other UF students.
Yay. All right. Wish housing. Well, again, we're going to turn it over to Miss Beck and Shelby and Emma soon, and because that's really the anchor of our info session. But I would just encourage you, the summer would be the most competitive time generally, and please do apply. But do please remember on the application, if you're interested in an additional term like fall, and you'd like to sit down with someone to see if that's possible, I'd sit down with people all the time to do that. And so please do just take the application seriously. I'm going to show you some things on your resume. And you might be watching this and say, okay, this summer might not be my best time ever because I'm going to gain some experiences, but I can strategically do that with some guidance from Dr. Bird or Bryn or Emma or Shelby. And so there's a lot of you on this call that are going to use this to your advantage in the upcoming semesters to build a body of work and then be at the top of our list of candidates. I love when I have students that apply, we might not select, and then they use the feedback that I give them, they act on it, they show that they want it, and then we select them for a different term. I would just say, please do highlight your professional experiences. And these are absolutely working on a campaign, working at a district level office, working in some public service space, but it also means Publix. You know what I love about Publix? When I go to Publix and I say, where's the peanut butter? They walk me over there. They know how to do quote unquote constituent relations. Yeah. I love about Jimmy John's. I never go into Jimmy John's and they say, hey, would you like a Big Mac with that? They know how to stay on brand. So some of these spaces that you've worked, maybe if there are any servers on this info session, you know how to record information, you know how to get back to customers, you know how to make that order right. And if it's not right, if that steak isn't cooked, they ask for well done, and you brought them, a steak that's practically mooing. You know how to get back and make it right. That's a lot like how you're going to have to interact with constituents. So do please attend to those. I love to see people that have worked. I love to see when students have worked as a lifeguard. Sometimes students will underplay that type of experience. And I say, so you're telling me you interacted with the public in critical life or death situations, rendered care, and helped to resolve an issue? And they say, yes. I said, well, that's something I want to see on a resume. Okay. I would say, yes, please.
Sorry, Dr. Bird. And I think something else that I want to highlight here as well is we're looking for all majors and all types of experience here. So just because you maybe don't have campaign experience or maybe don't have district office experience, please don't feel like that precludes you from applying or makes you a less competitive candidate. If you are a computer science major and you worked at a corporation in IT, or if you're an engineer and you worked at an engineering firm for a summer, that stuff is relevant as well. So please highlight all of your experiences, and don't feel like just because you don't have political experiences means you're not a competitive candidate, because it's not the case.
Especially those environmental science students, right, Shelby?
Exactly. I wasn't a poli-sci major when I did this program, guys. I was an environmental science major, and most of my experience pertained to that. And I was a successful part of this program. So I'm a prime example of that piece of advice.
Let's just restate that. We are looking for a very broad selection of majors. People from CALS, people from class, of course, people from Warrington, people from engineering, whatever engineering calls itself, sorry. We're looking for people from all the different colleges is what I'm trying to say. All right. Do please inform yourself. So do your research. We want to know the why. Why do you want to do this program? So look up policies. Look up, think about political trajectory. Where do you fit? We want to get you in a political trajectory that makes sense for yourself. If more opportunities opened up, even if you imagine going into corporate work per se, in whatever way, they're going to potentially have corporate relations or government relations. They're going to, you're just going to have the chance to be civically engaged at the local, state, or federal level. So do please think about the why. Why do you want to do this? What are the policies that you're passionate about? And I would say, of course, ask from former DC interns, like we're going to cover just now. Bryn, will you take it for this next one?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Dr. Bird said on that last slide with talking to former DC interns, I know there are a few of you that I see on here that I've met with already. If you want to email me, I'd be more than happy to schedule a one-on-one with you, just so kind of getting a student experience just to kind of relate to a little bit. For underclassmen, it's typically a little bit kind of trickier to be a part of the program, just because you might not have that many experiences yet. You just got on campus, you're still kind of learning the ins and outs of UF. Something that is really, really valuable is getting experience through district level internships. That's what I did the summer after my freshman year. I remember 2 years ago, I was like you guys watching this Zoom and kind of thinking like, whoa, I have nothing, like there's no way I'm gonna get this. So I spent that following summer at a district office and really starting to refine my political science skills and constituent skills, especially. Other great things, I know election season just wrapped up, but volunteering for any type of campaign, even with student government campaigns that are going on, those are a really great way to learn about relationships with other students, and those are skills that you can translate into other professional settings. Also volunteering at election days, and then scheduling office hours with Dr. Bird or myself to kind of go over resumes and different ways that you can use your skills. And like I said already, becoming involved on campus is a really great way, especially because a lot of other students that are really involved on campus are also going to trying to go to DC this summer and in the future. So those are really great ways that you can start to build upon your network and really make some good relationships that'll help you once you land in DC.
Thank you, Bryn. That's great. I'm just typing up an answer to one of the questions here. I will say that we imagine 6 to 8 or so students for the summer. We imagine potentially the same for the fall, so forth. Those numbers can adjust. And so we're also looking for students that will partner with us. That, let's say if we come across a special allotment because for whatever reason, the university would like we did this semester, to make available some additional funds. We were able to build out a big class of 14. So that's a little atypical. but we're looking to partner with people that can embrace that. Now, that meant that we had to utilize some additional housing, but those students were able to be flexible with us and help us build to that class. Again, I would just say, some of you may be watching this info session and you've got, all of the experiences lined up, maybe like Bryn did early, or maybe like Emma did, or maybe you're a student that's watching this info session and you're like, okay, here's some points that I can add. Here's some things I can add to build the body of work and then prepare myself to be an even stronger candidate going forward. We want to see all of your applications, but it's okay if you're using this for your own information to then use this information, I should say again, for your own information to then add something to your experiences. Okay, this is the standard. If you look up Career Connection Center, Alberta the Gator resume, this is a standard resume format. This is what we want to see. I do understand that many of you have creative resume formats. That's okay, but we want to see this. And I understand saying that resumes take a long time to write. I like to see work experience. And if you've worked at Publix, if you worked at Server, if you worked, I don't know, what other kinds of things if students worked at. If you've worked at on campus, show me that. You've worked in these adult spaces, I want to know. You know how to show up and retain your job. And if you don't show up, you lose your job. I want to know about that. And then, professional experience. It could be campus involvement and campus and community involvement, and then skill sets. Students at students at UF have a wonderful variety of skill sets. So this is the basic format. You can find this resume by doing a Google search. You want to think about with this internship that we are placing people in actual offices. The UF Office of Federal Relations for one student per se, other congressional offices. So go ahead and think about real offices and think about offices that make sense for you and help us to understand that you're not just listing a random selection of offices. Help us to understand the why. Now, look at the Florida delegation of senators and congresspersons. As you make out your application, again, what are they involved in? Why are you prioritizing them? Do that background research on your own.
Everyone.
Oh,
Well,
yes,
it's my turn to
please.
talk anyway, but this is not a comprehensive list by any means. If you have someone that you are interested in that is not on this list, please still feel free to list them. This is just to give you guys an idea based on placements that we've done in the past. Does not mean that this is end all be all options. Well, hi everyone. My name is Shelby Beck. As Dr. Bird mentioned, I'm coming to y'all live well, not in person, via Zoom in DC. Just to give you guys some background on myself, I was a University of Florida student myself, and I did participate in the WIP program like Dr. Bird mentioned. I did it my last semester before graduating, and then I was placed in the UF Federal Relations Office. And then at the end of the summer, they offered me a full-time position to work as their Federal Relations Associate. So if you guys weren't aware, the University of Florida does have a DC office with 2 federal lobbyists in it. I am here to help support those 2 lobbyists. So that means background research. It means preparing for fly-ins. It means running this internship program. It means a whole lot of different things. But probably running this internship program is one of my favorites. It's very near and dear to my heart, having participated in it in the past, and I credit it for a lot of where I am today. So anyway, yeah, I'm super happy to be here talking to you all. I'm going to go a little bit into the placement process for you guys. That's my primary area of this program. I'm sure a lot of you are curious as to how exactly we decide what offices you're going to be in, how that whole process works. So we place based off of 3 factors. The first is geography. So if, for example, you are politically aligned and have similar policy interest areas as your member of Congress, that's most likely where we're going to place you, because members of Congress like for their constituents to be working for them. Second area is political preference. So we try to take into account your own political preferences as far as Republican versus Democrat, or interest area, or moral standards, or anything along those lines. We try to take those into account. And then finally, policy interest area. So we take a lot of members of Congress, their policy areas are determined by their committee assignments. So that's actually a quick tip for you all. If you're sitting there and you're like, I have no idea how to even earthly begin telling what member of Congress I want to work for, look at their committee assignments and see where they're assigned for committees, because that'll be the area that they work on the most. So if someone's on the defense committee, they're going to work on national security and defense a lot more. If someone's on ag and or education in the workforce, they're going to be working on those types of issues more. So those along those lines. But those are the three things that we take into account when placing students. We have two separate placement avenues. So the first is partnership offices. So we have several offices, including Representative Kat Kamick, Representative Lois Frankel, that we have partnerships with, where we automatically place a student in that office every semester. And then we have non-partnership offices. Oh, I see a question, Tyler. These internships are primarily with legislators. I will say in the past, we have placed in agencies before, but our primary placement is with Capitol Hill legislators and within our office, the UF Federal Relations Office. So anyway, non-partnership offices, you go through their interview process. So basically, essentially how that works is once you're selected into our program, we sit down with you, we provide you with resume help, and we sit down and we walk you through what the interview process is like. So over the course of the last 2 years, I think we've had about 30 students go through this program under my and Dr. Bird's leadership. And we have a lot of experience into what offices are looking for, what the interview process is like. So we sit you down, walk you through that whole interview process. And then I also put your resume in front of the intern coordinators. I have a pre-established relationship with a lot of them, so I'll put your resume in front of them, flag it for them, and generally that'll lead to an interview, which we'll sit down and walk you through the whole system. Like I said, and then once you're accepted into an office, like Dr. Bird mentioned, you're working full time. So that's 9 to 5 when Congress is out of session, 8 to 6 when Congress is in session most often, Monday through Friday. So because of that, we recommend you take a reduced course load and are ready to come here working full time. The primary responsibilities you're going to be doing while working on Capitol Hill are primarily supporting the office staff. So that means pulling news clippings, giving Capitol tours, administrative work. And a big portion of what you're going to be doing is constituent relations. So answering the phone, cataloging emails, those kinds of things. Now, as the semester goes on, that does not mean those are only the types of things you're going to be doing as the semester goes on. Generally, you will get more advanced projects as your office builds trust in you, but when you first start, those are going to be your primary requirements, I guess. That's the wrong word, but we'll keep moving on. And then in your office, you're going to need to bring about a large amount of professionalism and discretion. Both of those things Dr. Bird and I work with you on to kind of cover. Other aspects of the program, we handle networking sessions. So once a month, we bring in a UF alumnus to come speak to all of the WIP students. So that means you get like a small session, informal Q&A with a high-powered alumni. So for example, I mentioned this at the beginning of the call, but we just had Charnel Dernbach come speak to our student. She's the senior counsel for the Senate Judiciary Committee, those types of things. And then we also have the Gator Bites presentation, which Dr. Bird already touched on, but it's a federal policy area impacting the university, and it's a 5-minute presentation. And then finally, the last thing I want to cover is the partnership aspect of this program. I know Dr. Bird has touched on this briefly as well, but we view this as a partnership between yourself, the Bob Graham Center, and our office. So we collaborate with you on placement, but we also expect you all to come to the networking sessions, interact with our office, help us with events, and listen to us about what we think would be best for your placement. And another major portion is we view you guys almost as the product of the university when you're in these offices. So you are showing them all the benefits that come from a University of Florida student. So that is another major reason this office participates in the program, is to showcase to congressional offices how amazing our students are. So I spoke quickly, Dr. Bird. Is there anything I should
Right.
cover in addition?
Yeah, I just want to accentuate, we're looking for students that are eager to help partner and display UF's best work. We think that you, the people on this call, people that are going to apply this program, people we're going to select, are the best example of the work we do. And so we're looking for people that are going to show up in your office on time, which is early. You're going to blow them away with your work ethic. You're going to embrace every task, answering the phones, giving tours, because you understand that that's how that office staying engaged with its constituents. And that's a fundamentally important thing in our democratic system, being accessible to the office, right? We're looking for students that are going to show up with a can-do attitude to learn, to earn your way, of course, into additional assignments with being proactive and entrepreneurial and just great, hardworking ethic. But that was great. Allow us to turn it over to Bryn.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do now and then also my internship. So like Dr. Bird said, I now work with the Bob Graham Center as the Experiential Learning Student Coordinator. So I help Dr. Bird reviewing applicants, doing outreach, and sessions like this. And then also once we have our interns selected, I also help him plan different cohort bonding events, whether that's just like a lunch social or you guys coming into the Pew Hall before you head to DC just to go over some professional skills and just making sure that you're prepared for DC. Like I also said, I meet with a lot of students now, so I'm always here if you have any questions about the application. But as far as my internship, so I completed the WIP program this past summer, so it was the summer after my sophomore year. I interned with my congressman from the Lakewood Ranch, Sarasota area. I had interned in his district office the summer after freshman year, loved it, and they liked me enough to then invite me to DC, which was really awesome. Like Dr. Bird and Shelby talked about, when I first got there, my duties were definitely a little bit not as glamorous as I thought they would be. I was, just answering phones, giving constituent tours, and looking at press clips. But what really helped me kind of take on more advanced responsibilities was advocating for myself and doing things correctly and not trying to rush through them. I also was almost always like the first person at my office, like not even my chief of staff would be there yet, and the door would be locked and I'd be waiting out there, but I was the first person that my chief or other office members would see just waiting to be let in basically. But what was really awesome about my office too is that one of the staffers actually is completing his bachelor's from UF currently. So it was really awesome having a Gator in the office to connect with. And then I got coffee with him, I think like my second week, and that changed everything. From that point on, I told them like, these are my interests, this is what I want to do. And I got to do a lot of things that congressional interns don't necessarily get to do. I wrote an amendment that got passed in the National Defense Authorization Act this summer, which was insane. Like I was 20 years old and did that, which is really cool. And then my Gator Bite presentation was about mental health advocacy and a bill that was looking for co-sponsors. I presented it at Gator Bite with Shelby and got that experience, and then actually pitched it to my member and my chief, and we ended up signing on to that bill. So that process with WIP was really awesome because it helped me be able to use those skills in my office directly, which was great. But I think the biggest things that I learned this summer were knowing how to advocate for yourself and knowing what you're interested in. I think is really important. Don't go into your office and just have a goal, know what you want to do, know the things that you're interested in. I think is super important. And what was really cool is I actually got a job offer at the end of the summer with that office. And although I'm probably not going to be accepting it because I'm now getting my master's, it was a really awesome experience that, like Shelby said, I wouldn't have had without the Bob Graham Center and without WIP. So I have nothing but great things to say about the program, our cohort, and all the professional development that we had through Shelby and Federal Relations Office.
Oh, thank you, Bryn. And we're going to turn over to Emma, but I do want to mention something about what Bryn says. this idea of advocating for yourself. These offices want you. Our students often will get up to DC and have housing lined up, and they'll start before the other interns. They will often distinguish themselves in comparison to the interns from other places. This is very common. So we want you to advocate for yourself as you are demonstrating you are high-powered, that you are eager, that you are hardworking, that you are a go-getter. Please don't advocate for yourself if you're the opposite of those things. We just need to have a very serious phone conversation. I'll give you my cell phone. As you demonstrate all those far-reaching characteristics, those advanced characteristics, we do want you to make the most of your opportunity. Well, thanks, Bryn. Emma, will you please, what advice would you give all these people? What would you share?
Hi everyone, I'm Emma Putnam. I'm a third year agricultural communications student. So I kind of, like Shelby, represent some of that niche major that you might not at first glance think of when you think of a political internship, but I was not poli-sci. I went into this internship sort of how Bryn did. I had completed a district internship with my representative actually during high school and had held off doing it the year before in DC, but I ended up taking him up on that offer. So I actually represented somebody from Tennessee rather than Florida. So I was a little bit unique in that sense, but it was still the same. Just to kind of echo something that Bryn said, you go in and you will be answering the phones and, dealing with mail and things like that. But I too advocated for myself and went on a bunch of different coffee chats, and me and my chief of staff were actually able to create a really professional working relationship with one another, where he would set up coffee chats for me and I would get a lot about what I wanted to do in the future, because I know that I went into this internship not necessarily wanting to work on the Hill, but thinking of it as a very, very valuable experience and a stepping stone to get where I wanted to go. Kind of again what Dr. Bird and Shelby have said, finding a policy area that you really, really like also helped me as well. I was fortunate in the sense that the Farm Bill had still not been passed when I was in DC. It's still in the works, I guess, but I was able to sit in on a lot of those hearings because very early on I advocated and expressed my interest for agricultural policy, conservation policy, things like that. So a lot of the work that I did in the office pertained to the Farm Bill, doing research that maybe Representative Kustoff could sign off on or be a part of, even though he was only on the Ways and Means Committee. So things like that. My other advice to all of y'all would be take advantage of your time, not only as a WIP intern, but as a DC citizen for the entire summer, especially being a Gator. The Gator Club in DC has a very, very vast network. And something that Shelby and Dr. Bird and the other DC Gators did for us, which I really appreciated, was the Florida House receptions with the Gator Club that we did a time or two, as well as their representative breakfast talks. I'm sure that they are still doing those as well. Those were a really great networking opportunity. And I was able to join a lot of like random Facebook groups with my niche interests that made living in DC so awesome. I don't think I paid for breakfast one time or sometimes even dinner throughout the week, because there's always just a free meal going on, especially as an intern on the Hill. There's always like a lecture series or something that you can attend, learn from, and meet people and get a free meal. So things like that, just take advantage of everything, because living in DC, the time flies by really, really, really fast. And especially when you're working a 40-hour week, it feels like the days go by long, but the weeks go by short. And so taking advantage of everything all day, every day is my biggest piece of advice as well.
Emma, thank you so much. All right. Well, would anybody like to, in the comment section or mic on, and ask a question? Shelby, could you just once again clarify how is that, if someone's selected by us, does that mean they're automatically placed in a partnering office, or what's that exchange like? Could you clarify that?
Yeah, so we have two placement avenues. So once you're accepted with us, we either place you in an office that we have a partnership with. Those are Representative Kame, Representative Frankel, working on one with Representative Wasserman Schultz. And those offices will automatically take you and put you in their office. Other offices require you to go through their interview process. Now, I will say that I have a pre-existing relationship with most intern coordinators, so I'm able to get your resume in front of them, and then we sit down with you and prep you for the interview. We've never had to accept a student and then not be able to place them. So if you're worried about that, that's not something that's ever happened before. We've always been able to place every single accepted student that we've taken, but it does require another additional interview round oftentimes for the placement process.
Had a question about how can people sign up for my office hours. If you will, I'll actually send out a link. Brent, let's remember to do this. I'll send out a link to a Friday Q&A post with info session Q&A. I'd like to try to handle as much of your questions in group, just because we had 270 people register for this. That's going to be a lot of office hours for me. So if we could handle something in group, for now, that's very helpful for Dr. Bird. Let's see, how long are the responses supposed to be in the form? Well, I think there's a character limit. Generally, some of the longer responses might be 1,000 characters. Thank you for being concise, clear, and getting to the point in a very efficient manner. If you want to apply for next summer because maybe you're getting ready, but maybe you're not there. Okay, so this program is for currently enrolled undergraduate students. So let's say next summer, if you had a single class that you were still in that helped you achieve your undergraduate degree, you could definitely apply. Some students will even hold out a single class for that specific purpose. If you're in a combined degree program, you just would not have your undergraduate degree awarded yet. You'd still be meeting some little requirement for your undergraduate degree. Is it possible to get a resume review before applying? I'll put forward some Q&A time right at the end of this, a link to it. We could go over some of that during some Q&A group advising time. Otherwise, thank you for looking up Alberta the Gator's resume. Please don't be intimidated by her accomplishments. She is fierce in what she has done, and she should not intimidate you, even though she has alligator teeth. So I would say that also with that, thank you for kind of going through and saying, why am I putting this? We want a one-page resume. Why am I putting the things on there? I've already told you that I like to see things like working at Publix or, working at as a server. But, what are things related to constituent relations, office event program staffing, engaging, interpreting, and reporting on data in a highly accurate manner, or receiving personal information, organizing it, and protecting that privacy. What are some of those skill sets that you have? All right, let me see if I can. Do you prioritize students with experience within a district attorney's office? Well, that sounds like compelling experience. I would say we would evaluate that along with other compelling experience. Sometimes students will apply that have had that kind of experience, and sometimes we've got students that haven't been able to gain that type of experience before. And so I'd say we put all that together. Working in professional spaces, in some spaces where you've interacted with other adults, is something that we do look for. Okay. When do the applications open for fall? Probably later this semester. If you've already interviewed for a partner office, how does that work? Well, if you've already interviewed for a congressional office, I would say make sure and apply to us. Let us know who you're in communication with. Are the start dates flexible? Well, we have you start pretty soon. We have you start and end pretty closely aligned with the summer schedule, summer C schedule. We like you to be there as long as possible. That's generally what we do. So is that flexible? Yes, I would say if your office is wanting you to start early and you're like, well, I can't really start for a month after that, that's a challenge just because we want you to get in that office and start kind of earning your way into more responsibilities. No, letters of rec are not needed, but you will list some of those. Is there mentorship? Well, we do encourage you to engage alum, engage others while you're there, to coffee talks, to hear about what people's professional trajectory are. So I would say in that case, that would definitely be something that we would want students to be proactive in networking while you're there. As far as a mentorship, your mentorship is going to be through your office supervisor, and Miss Beck and myself, making sure that you are, you are doing great. And then you're going to establish relationships that you can stay and connect with. So we are primarily placing students in congressional offices or the Office of UF Federal Relations. For students from a variety of majors, we would just say you're going to build a body of work, especially for students, let's say engineering students, other types of students where maybe some of your experiences are in a different field. We factor that in. We understand that and we love to have students from other fields that maybe have experience that makes sense for their field. Sure, volunteer experience is another example of community engagement. Students will often education, work experience, campus and community involvement, and then you put volunteer experience there. All right, I have been answering a lot of these questions. Anybody see one that you would like to answer and mic on?
Yeah, I can, and oh, sorry, Shelby.
No, go ahead, Brent. Go ahead.
One that I saw was asking for Emma and I, how do we gain the confidence to ask for more responsibilities in our office? I think with that, after the first week or two, you kind of start to understand just the environment of your office. And you kind of get to start to know your staffers a little bit. Usually your staff assistant is pretty close in age to you, which is kind of nice because it might be a little bit more comfortable for you to talk to them, asking for those responsibilities. But at least in my situation, it really was just kind of using those first 2 weeks to understand kind of the dynamics of the office and just understanding people's personalities, and then kind of figuring out like who I thought I could get along with the best to ask those responsibilities.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just maybe understand the vibe. If they look like they're super, super busy and stressed out, obviously you can test the waters a little bit before you ask for more work. But
Make sure
something
the
that
work
I
you're doing
did,
is excellent.
yeah, yes, absolutely. And also something that I did was typically in an office, there'll be certain staffers that have certain policy issues that they prioritize or focus on. So I approached the staffer that handled agricultural policies and issues, and I pulled him aside as he was fixing to leave for the day and was just like, hey, I noticed you met with the Florida or the Tennessee Farm Bureau delegation today. I'm super, super interested in doing ag policy. Is there anything, if there's anything upcoming that pertains to that policy work, I would love to help you out on it and get some more experience. And from that on, it was just thing after thing after thing of anything that I could help him with. It was a really great option. And I'm glad that I put myself out there for that.
Shelby, I'm seeing a question. I'm interested in an office that's not listed on your list. Should I apply directly to that office and the Graham Center?
You definitely can. There's nothing precluding you from applying directly to congressional offices. That being said, it's not required to apply to the Graham Center. We have placed and we will continue to place in offices outside of that list, and it's not necessary for you to reach out and apply before we instruct you to, if you're interested in this program specifically.
Are there students that you can, previous students that you can be in touch with? Well, Bryn's one, but thank you for, keeping in mind if she gets 100 emails after this. I would say you can also see on the Graham Center our WIP cohorts. If you know someone that's up there now, Emma is another person. Shelby is a previous person. We have a growing number of WIP alum that are in DC working. Just keep that in mind. Anybody want to see something else? Where can we watch this recording? We'll send out a copy of this recording, and probably by then I'll send out a additional Q&A time for Friday at 4 of this week, just a Q&A follow-up, and we'll set that as a Zoom registration. So that you'll be getting that, a copy of a link to where the recording is. And also, if any of you want to workshop and you're okay looking at it together, workshop a resume. I often tell students it's okay for us, in most cases, to look at a resume together, because the questions you have a resume might be very helpful to someone else if you're open to it. If you're not open to it, it's going to be a little harder just for now for me to work you in, because there's a bunch of you. Anybody else like to go mic on and ask a question?
Dr. Bird, if I may, before we go, just as we're kind of wrapping up,
Yeah.
something I really want to emphasize is how unique and special this program is to UF. While you're up there, you'll meet a lot of interns that are from out of state or other colleges, even if they're from Florida or just, go to whatever university or school. And what I would explain to them what our program was about and how much support financially and professionally they gave us, they're just astounded and appalled, because they're, paying for housing by themselves or living super far away and having to deal with a lot of the things that the Bob Graham Center does a really, really great job of alleviating from students to kind of break down some of those barriers to intern in DC. So even if I'm seeing a lot of comments that are like, I'm not sure if I should apply yet, I would just go ahead and do it
Go
just so
ahead.
that you know about the application process, and that'll make it easier. If you don't get it, you can apply another semester and you'll be familiar with the process and the Bob Graham and UF Federal Relations team. But I just wanted to echo that this is something that is very, very unique to UF.
We had a really great question. Someone asked, should I, if I get a district level office, can I do some skill prep at the Graham Center? We've actually been talking about that very same thing. But yes, do please reach out to me if you land a district level office. I'd like to help and probably include you in some of our onboarding skill prep. That's great. Well, allow me to just say to all of you, thanks for attending. This opportunity to learn by doing is something that our beloved former Governor Graham had a real passion for. I loved years ago when I'd be in the Graham Center or over at the oral history program, and Governor Graham would walk over and I'd be with a student and they'd say, "Who was that kindly old man?" And I said, "Well, that's former Governor Graham." And just love to engage with students and stop and talk to them, whether they knew who he was or not. It was great. And so we really love to continue this program, and to really continue former Governor Graham's legacy of just graciousness, collegiality, and hard work. So if that's something that you want to embrace, this would be a great program to keep in mind. Thank you. And please, the Graham Center, we have a bevy of public events, student groups, other things like the international studies and public service minor. Please do keep the Graham Center in mind. We love to serve a wide variety of students, and we hope that you are one of them. My very best to you. Have a great day. Bye now.